Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Driftless Knitting. My name is Jennifer, and I am your host of this podcast. I am the Driftless Knitter on Instagram and on Ravelry, and I thought I'd try my hand at a podcast. I've been watching a few podcasts lately. I've fallen down the deep rabbit hole of watching knitting podcasts. And it's been in my head a bit lately to start one of my own, so I thought I'd give that a try. I'm slightly nervous about doing this, but I thought it'd be really fun. And I feel like I have a lot to say about the craft and about the community of knitters, and I just kind of wanted to join in with all the lovely podcasters out there. So like I said, I'm Jennifer, and I am a knitter and a spinner. I don't dabble much in crochet, but I don't know. I sometimes feel like I should, like I'm possibly missing out on something. And then I think about my binder and my bookshelf full of knitting patterns, and I just don't know if I have time, and if I want to sacrifice my spinning and my knitting time for crochet. But maybe I'm being a little prejudiced about that, so we'll see. I learned how to knit when I was like 8 years old, I believe. My grandmother on my dad's side, my Oma, she is German, so I call her Oma. She taught me how to knit, and I picked it up on and off throughout my childhood, and then in college, she was teaching my aunt how to knit, my Tante Margie. And I sat down with them and I wanted to start a project too. And then we went to the yarn store, we picked out yarn, and the lady at the yarn store in the town that she lives in, Wisconsin, told me about a new yarn shop that opened up in Winona, Minnesota, which is where I was going to college. And I told her, I was so excited. I'm like, I go to school there, I live there. And later that day, I was thinking about how cool it would be to work at a yarn shop. I was looking for a part-time job at the time, and I called up this new yarn shop called Yarnology in Winona, and asked if I could come in and meet them, and asked if they needed some part-time help. And I was talking to Kelly at the time, she's one of the owners, and she said, yeah, come in, we'll talk to you. And it's been almost 6 years that I've been working there. So it started out my junior year of college, and that's when I really, really got into knitting, and kind of just was immersed in this community and the world of fiber and knitting and hand dyeing, and yeah, just I love it. I'm 100% saturated in fiber. So that was kind of the point where I got really, really into it. So I've been knitting ever since, and I've been starting to dabble in designing patterns, which I will show you a couple of those later on. And I sell yarn for a living. I work at the yarn shop, and I help people with projects and sell yarn, and find, new companies and new hand dyers to try in the shop. And yeah, it's a blast. I love my job, and every day is like, I don't know, like Christmas sometimes, opening up boxes of yarn. I mean, what could be better? So I also learned how to spin somewhat recently. I would say, was that 3 years ago? 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I learned how to spin. My friend Lisa, who also lives in Winona and also works at the yarn shop a few days every other week or so, she's also a hand dyer. She owns Three Sisters Farm and Fiber, which is a wonderful little farm outside Winona. And she has some hand spun in her shop, but then she dyes yarn and some fiber and things like that. So check her out on Instagram and on Ravelry and on her website. She taught me how to spin. So she had a Louette spinning wheel, that she brought to the yarn shop for Spin in Public Day about 4 years ago, and I had been wanting to learn how to spin for a really long time, and that was like the perfect opportunity. And I think I took onto it pretty naturally, pretty fast, and it was I fell in love with it right away. And she gave me a spindle to try for a little while, and I spun a little bit of yarn on that. I think it was just some Romney wool that I spun into like a worsted weight, and it was of course completely over twisted and kinky, and it just wrapped up on itself, but it was fun. I really loved it, but I really, really, really wanted a wheel. And that Christmas, I was gifted a wheel by my lovely, lovely, lovely coworkers and bosses, and it was a used wheel. They had ordered it off eBay and put it together. It was shipped from somewhere in like Amsterdam or something, I don't know, and gave it to me, and I think I burst into tears because it was so exciting, and I had not been expecting to be gifted a spinning wheel, like completely off my radar. I didn't even, so she's still with me, and that's the wheel I spin on, and her name is Lucy, and she's a Louette S10. So that's how I got started in spinning. Lately I haven't been doing much spinning, which is kind of a shame, but Spinzilla is coming up, so I'm gonna have to get back on that and spin up some yarn for that competition. So, okay, so that's my story. I think I will kind of do what a lot of podcasters do, show you some works in progress, show you some of my finished objects from recently, and then I thought I would, since, I don't know, a lot of people do acquisitions, or in the case of Danny from Little Bobbins, which I just started watching and I love her, she does lovely things. So I thought I'd do a few lovely things that I acquired somewhat recently, last weekend, at the Jefferson Sheep and Wool Festival in Jefferson, Wisconsin. And then I will maybe show you a couple of my patterns that you can look up if you'd like to. So, alright, so my first work in progress is let me grab it quick. You can see my yarn stash, part of my yarn stash in the back there on that shelf. This is the extra bedroom in our apartment, and it's full of all of our hobbies. So we have like golf clubs in the back, yarn, my boyfriend's workout equipment is in here, my pattern books, and then over here, which you can't see, is a huge bookshelf full of my books, because I'm a book nerd. I have my degree in literature, and so whenever possible I meld my two loves of fiber and books, and I think there's a lot of people who kind of share my two obsessions, which is really fun. A lot of people are book nerds and knitters. So, okay, so this is my first work in progress. Ooh, the lighting, the sun just went behind a cloud and it's kind of dark. This is a toe-up sock that I'm doing. I started it a few weeks ago when I was on vacation in Door County, Wisconsin. And I forgot to mention, I have a blog called the driftlessknitter.wordpress.com. That's the website. It's called the Driftless Knitter. And I've been blogging for over a year now, I think. And I enjoy that, and I hope that I'll still be able to blog, but I like the conversationalness of a podcast, so give it a whirl. So anyway, you can read about my vacation to Door County, Wisconsin on my blog, but then this is the sock that I started when we were there, and this is, oh, I'm so unprepared, don't know what yarn this is. It's a Regia, though, self-patterning, and it's one of the, I think they're called Perfect socks, and it has a stopping point. When you reach a certain point, there's a yellow piece of yarn and you cut that out, and then you start your next sock, and they're supposed to be equally matched so that the pattern comes out the same on both socks. So this is a toe-up sock, and I just kind of made up this broken rib pattern that's on the top of the sock, and the back of the sock is just a plain stockinette. I don't know if you can see that very well in the camera, but not sure how the pattern's coming out, but that's okay. It looks cool. I don't mind. And this is just my mindless knit. I take it with me just in case the other project I'm working on is too complicated for the situation. I'll grab this because I have the basics memorized. I know how many stitches I need to increase for my heel gusset. I know when I should turn my heel. Yeah, so that's not that difficult. But anyway, kind of fun. I prefer toe-up socks, but that's just the way I was taught. So I have done cuff down once, and it wasn't that bad. I just did a little pair of footies called, I think they're called Under the Boardwalk footies. That was actually really, really fun knit, and I want to do some more of those, but my go-to is the toe-up socks. And oh, I forgot to show you or tell you what bag that was in. So this is my Bink Waffle dumpling bag, and this I got, we sell these at the yarn store I work at, Yarnology. And it's so cute because it's interchangeable. So the inside, it's like getting a whole new bag. When you kind of tire of the outside, you can flip it inside out, and yeah. So that's really fun. I've had this bag for a few years now, and it's a little worse for wear, but the fabric is so durable that I doubt this is going to wear out anytime soon, which is really great. And it's light enough that I can put it on my wrist if I'm walking, which I've done a little bit of that walk and knit type thing. There used to be a group in Winona. We got together a couple times, but maybe I should restart that. We'll see. That'd be fun. Okay, so my second work in progress that I've been working on a lot lately is called the Spiral Blanket of Awesome. And this, it's getting kind of big, but this is a gigantic, okay, it doesn't look that big now in the camera, circular blanket, and oh boy, it's a little twisted, isn't it? Okay, so there it is. I'll put it in front of my face so you can see it. This is a circular blanket that's knit from the inside out, and you increase at certain spots and with a yarn over, and then the increases end up making a spiral. So that's kind of cool. You can make it in any weight. I'm doing this one in fingering in Malabrigo sock yarn in the colorway Anniversario. So that is, sun went away again. So that's kind of bright greens and blues and pinks. Really, really, really fun. And it is a fun knit, but now that there's so many stitches on there, I have close to 500 stitches on there now, and I have to keep increasing because it's not big enough to be a baby blanket yet. It takes a long time. And it's just knitting over and, you know, around and around and around, so it can get a little monotonous, but it's nice when you're watching a movie or watching a TV show or watching football like we watched over the weekend. I was working on that. But yeah, I'm liking it. I want to cast on something new though, which is a problem because this is a shop sample for the store, so I have to get it done. I'm teaching a class on it at the end of the month. But yeah, so I'm going to keep knitting on it. And this bag that I have is one of my absolute favorites. This is Little Skein in the Big Wool, her little project bag. And I think it's just a drawstring. This is her only drawstring bag, I think, in her shop. Otherwise she has like zip pouches. But this is the, oh, I forget the name of the fabric, but it's the Laura Ingalls Wilder, the Pioneer one. This came in a kit that my friend and my old roommate Amanda gave to me for one of my birthdays a few years back, and it was amazing because I'm obsessed with Laura Ingalls Wilder. She's like one of my favorite people ever. So I love her books. I've read them many, many times. I've gone to almost all of the sites around where she used to live, and yeah, just love everything about her. So that was a very fitting present, and I think excuse me, I'll take a sip of coffee. I was very excited when Amanda gave that to me, so I'll talk about my mug a little bit. Sorry, I'm looking down at myself a little bit. I'm quite not used to staring at the camera lens. Again, I think Danny talked about that when she started her podcast. I've been going back and watching old episodes because I kind of just got clued into the whole knitting podcast thing. Amanda, who I used to live with, she watched podcasts for quite a while, and I just didn't really, I'd come home and she'd be, in her bedroom knitting and watching a podcast, and I'd be like, okay, I didn't really get it. And then my friends, Carolyn and Kate they live across the river, in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and they have the Chain 344 podcast, and I felt kind of bad that I was friends with them, and I, supported them and everything. They come to the yarn shop. They were customers of the shop. That's how I met them. But I had never watched an episode of their podcast. I thought that was kind of, I don't know. So I decided to go back and watch all of their old podcasts, which was hilarious. In a really good way, not in a bad way. I know they kind of cringed when they realized that I was going back and watching old ones, because they were like, oh my gosh, we were so unorganized, we didn't know what we were doing, blah, 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 but they're so funny. The two of them together are so funny. They just play off each other so well. Kate's kind of the stoic, she's funny too, but a little quieter, and Carolyn's a little bit more kind of bubbly and funny and stuff, and then their two personalities kind of come together and make a really, really cool dynamic. So I watched all of their episodes. I'm not sure how many they have out, but that was so fun. And then when it was over and they were on a bit of a hiatus because Carolyn had a new baby, I didn't really know what to do with myself, so I searched through Instagram, and I kind of just looked up best knitting podcast to watch, and I stumbled across Homespun House. I'd been following her on Instagram for quite a while, and didn't realize she had a podcast, and then I saw an update that she had posted a new one, and I thought, I'm not following any others at the moment. I can afford to go back and watch her old ones. So I went back. That took me quite a few months. I think 2 or 3 months to go back and watch all of hers. She has 80 of them out. And I will admit that there was some binge podcast watching, which I'm sure knitters understand. I don't think non-knitters would really get that, but I would sit on the couch and knit and watch a few episodes at a time. And hers are kind of long. Hers are about an hour, close to an hour each. So I'd get a couple in and get some good quality knitting time. So then I finished hers, and again, didn't really know what to do with myself because she hasn't posted in a few weeks. So she mentions a lot of podcasts on her episodes, and one of her favorites and one of her good friends is Danny from Little Bobbins Knits, and she just said such good things about her, and I had a couple on my list that I wanted to give a try, and I just thought, okay, I'll start with the top, and that was Little Bobbins, so put her on, and she's so adorable. I love her. I love her so much. She is someone that I could see being friends with. She's kind of soft-spoken, but really witty and funny, and a really great knitter. And her dog is adorable. I know she mentioned, I'm like on episode like 25 or something, and so these were probably over a year ago she posted these, but she mentioned at the beginning that she was afraid people would be annoyed by seeing her dog, and I think it's totally the opposite, and I think she did get feedback about that, that people really enjoyed seeing Bobbin, which is her little chihuahua, so he's so cute. Yeah, so I'm really enjoying watching Danny, and it kind of inspired me to start my own. I know there's a lot out there, but yeah, it's fun. So anyway, this is my mug that I'm drinking out of. Mugs are kind of, I'm just like Molly from A Homespun House. Teacups and mugs are kind of special to me. I have quite a few of them, but they're all from people or from events that I've been to, or places I've visited, or from people that I love. So this is from my Tante Margie, my aunt, and it's I don't know if you can see that detail on there, but it looks like a cable. It looks like it's knitted. And I had 2 of these. She gave these to me for Christmas a few years ago. And I had one at the yarn shop at Yarnology and one here, and the one at Yarnology broke. The handle broke. So it's kind of sad. But I used it like every day, so I got good use out of it. But so this one is the one that's left, and it's kind of my knitting mug. It's kind of inspirational and combines another love of mine, coffee, with knitting. So anyway, that's what I'll be sipping out of if my voice gets scratchy. Alright, so another work in progress that's also kind of a FO is my doll from designed by Arna and Carlos, which is, I'm sure most of you know who they are, but they're a Norwegian duo. They did the knitted dolls, the Christmas balls, Easter knits. They have like 6 books out, I think, 5 or 6 books. And they're coming to Yarnology this weekend. Friday and Saturday they'll be there. We're having like a meet and greet on Friday night, and then we're having 2 classes on Saturday. So, yeah, if you're in the Winona area, come join. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting kind of close to the camera here. Oh, there it is. Okay, so the work in progress part of this is the doll itself. She's cute, right? She's cute. She just doesn't have any hair. I have to work on that. So yeah, I have to put the hair on her before Friday. She's supposed to be me. I have greenish eyes, so that's why she's kind of got greenish eyes, and yeah. Anyway, she'll have kind of long brownish hair. I'll probably braid it. I wear my hair in a braid a lot, so she does have clothes, in case any of you are too worried. I just finished this morning. Oh, isn't it cute? So this is out of some scraps that I had of Spud and Chloe Stripey Fine, which is their silk and wool blend sock weight yarn. I'm not sure if they promote it for sock knitting, but it could be knit into socks. So kind of fun, little stripey purple and green sweater. Yay! Just wove in the ends this morning on that. And then she has little overalls. I know they look super wide, but I think they'll be okay when they're actually on her. So these are her overalls, and the reason why I have overalls for my doll is that it is my dream to have a fiber farm. And my boyfriend's family has a dairy farm, and we go there a lot. He goes there, tries to go there every weekend to help out his dad. And until we lived together, he actually lived there full time and worked with his dad full time. But he's going back to school now, and so he can't really do both, obviously, on a full-time basis. So he goes back when he can, and then I used to go there every week almost on my days off. and I helped with chores, and I hung out with his parents, and yeah, I just loved it. We would take Kubota rides around the land. They have like almost 400 acres, and it was amazing, and I love it there, and I miss it because I haven't been back in about a month, a little over a month. But I think I'll be able to go next week. I think so. We're gonna try and make that happen. So I'll go there for a day or so and just hang out with the cows. I know it sounds silly, but I miss the cows. I have a couple favorite calves that I've been around them since they were born, and they're pretty tame. They're almost full grown now, to come to think of it, which is really scary. And they will still, this little group of them that I kind of adopted, they'll come up to you in the field, and yeah, they're just cute. So if you go on my blog, you will see pictures of me, and I don't know if I have one with the full group, but I definitely have pictures of a special one named Stella. She's my favorite. And although I feel bad saying that, isn't that funny? I feel bad saying that one is my favorite over the others, but she's the most tame, and she'll let you scratch her neck. And anyway, you probably don't want to hear about cows this entire podcast, but okay, so another recently finished object, I kind of just went right into that, is, oh, it's so big. It's so big. This is, here, I'll go from like one edge to the other. This is Pure Joy, the Pure Joy shawl by Joji Locatelli. And this, yeah, you can see it starts with short rows up here, and then you kind of increase out, and you keep adding stitches. And, oh my gosh, it's super long. And then it, yeah, you get to this end over here. So, obviously my wingspan is not that wide. But this I knit out of some yarn that was in my stash for a couple of years. And it's a verb for keeping warm in their floating base. It's cashmere, what is it? Cashmere, silk, and alpaca. So it pretty much feels like heaven. Oh, it's so beautiful. And that's like a brown, tanny color, and then like a lavender color at the base there. I hope you can see that. Oh, sorry. And it's knit in a lot in garter stitch. Most of it is in garter stitch, except for these little eyelet rows. You do come back and purl those. But I had a lot of fun with it. I had a lot of fun. The beginning part of it flew by, and the only part that I felt a little impatient with was the big part at the end, because you get to have so many stitches on the needle, and you're just knitting, and so, you know, it can get a little tedious, but I really, really liked it, and it feels amazing, and I really like a verb for keeping warm because they naturally dye their yarns. I wish I could remember the color names, but they were, I don't know if they re-dye them. It was special colors for the Stephen and Stephen tour, Stephen B and Stephen West, a couple of summers ago, 2014. They did a tour, one of their first tour, I believe, around the U.S., parts of the U.S., yeah, I don't know. And they came to Yarnology as part of that, and so we had a pop-up shop, and they were selling some specialty yarns, and I got those two skeins, so I'm glad I finally was able to use them. They've been in there for 2 years now, so those are my finished objects. Now I can talk about some of my stash favorites, or in this case I'm going to talk about what I got at the Jefferson Sheep and Wool Festival, the Wisconsin Sheep and Wool. That was last Sunday. I guess not this past one, but the one before that. And I went down there with my friend Lisa from Three Sisters Farm and Fiber, and my friend Carolyn from the Chain 344 podcast, And both of them are on Instagram, by the way. You should look them up. And then Lisa has a website as well. It's Three Sisters Farm MN. Three Sisters MN. Oh, I'm so bad. I'll look it up. I'll put a note, hopefully, if I can figure out how to do that. I'll put a note. Okay, so, where should we start? Okay, so we went down there on a Sunday, and got there a little after 11, so we had a few hours to walk around the barns. It takes about 3 hours to get down there, but we chatted and knit and had fun, so it didn't feel like 3 hours. But so we stopped at a few booths to start out, and yeah, I'll get back to that. I desperately wanted some yarn from Bumblebee Acres Fiber Farm, because they do fan-based yarn like Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Outlander. What else do they do? Oh my gosh. Yeah, the Harry Potter yarn is what got me. And I could not decide between all of them. I wanted them all. I could not decide. So we left because I needed some time to control myself and not spend my entire budget there. So we decided to walk through the rest of that building and the building next to it. There were two big buildings. And I think the first thing I bought was this. Ooh. Can you see that? It's beautiful. This is from Brew City Yarns. You can see their tag there. And they are in, I apologize if it's backwards. I'm not sure I'm going to know how to reverse that. So if it is, I'm sorry. They are out of Waukesha, Wisconsin, which I know well. It's where my sister actually works there. And this is 400 yards of superwash merino and nylon. And ooh, this is called Burning Leaves. It's one of their fall colorways. And there's just some beautiful purples. I wonder if I put it over here, if it'll catch more of the sunlight. Nope, it won't. Okay, never mind. Purples, oranges, yellows, reds, browns, some gorgeous stuff in there. And I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with this. I don't know if it's going to be too pretty to make socks out of, but it would be a fun pair of socks. I don't know. We'll see. So, and this is on her premium draft sock yarn base, if you go on her website. And their website is brewcityyarns.com. And they're so fun. Oh my gosh. I had never met them before. It's a mother and I think two daughters, but one was there. Maybe it's just a mother-daughter team. And they were both there. And we started chatting, and you feel like they've known you for years. We went back, actually, after the first visit because Lisa just wanted to look again, and she ended up buying a second skein, but we just kind of just wanted to go back just to chat with them. They were just so much fun. So nice, so welcoming. They invited us to, there's an event that they do, I'm not sure where it's at, but it'll be on their website, and they go to a brewery, because they're Brew City Yarns, and they like knit and drink beer, which I think is really kind of awesome. So they were all about that, and we're like, sure, we'll come back for that. That sounds great. So we'll see if we do that. But so then after Brew City Yarns, we went to the Knit Circus booth. And Knit Circus is out of Madison, Wisconsin. And they do gradient yarns, so they do sock. I actually have a couple of their sets in my stash, but I won't pull those down right now. They do sock sets, so they do an equal amount of sock yarn dyed in a gradient in a set. So two like 50-gram balls, dyed gradients that your socks match. which I think is brilliant. And they also do just full skeins of gradient dyed yarn. So we actually carry them at Yarnology, and we're actually going to get a new shipment in here soon. But they came out with a new base and a new colorway, which we do not have yet. And I thought I needed to test it. So while chatting with them, I kind of, I caved. So this is Knit Circus, and this is their trampoline base, which is 100% superwash merino. There's 440 yards on here, which I think is great. I'll probably end up doing a shawl with this just because it is gradient, and I'll get a sock set if I want gradient socks, but I'll do a shawl or some other kind of accessory. This colorway is their new colorway, and it's called Sweater Weather, and I think it's perfect. It's a perfect sweater weather color. So fall-y. I love fall. Fall is like the best. I don't right now, but the past few days I've been having a like pumpkin spice candle going, and been starting drinking tea again at night. I always drink coffee even in the winter, or even in the summer. But I don't usually drink tea much in the summer because that's kind of I like herbal tea. It's kind of a nighttime thing for me. So, but come fall, I break out the herbal tea and enjoy that. So, yeah, it's getting a little cooler. Lately it's been really, really warm, which I'm not a fan of, but what are you going to do? So, then, after going to Knit Circus, we made another loop. Went back to Bumblebee Acres, and I got some yarn. This is one of their Harry Potter based colorways. Isn't it gorgeous? Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. This is a fingering weight, excuse me, I gotta look at the tag, Corriedale and nylon. I've knit with Corriedale before, and I actually really like it. I knit a shawl with it recently, and obviously would knit with it again. It's 430 yards, and it is called Awaiting Your Owl. Yeah, so that just makes me think of Hedwig. It makes me think of Pigwidgeon. I think that's how you say it. Makes me think of just the owlry. Oh gosh. And just that, I don't know, it's such a calming image in my head of the owls kind of sleeping on their roosts, and yeah. Anyway, I love it. So the second one I got from them, because no, I did not just walk away with one skein. Are you kidding? This one is Helga Hufflepuff. And this is the same base, Corriedale nylon. And same yardage and everything. It's a fingering weight from Bumblebee Acres. And I am a self-proclaimed Hufflepuff. I just know I would be in Hufflepuff. And then, you know, of course, there's all those tests, those like quizzes online and stuff. And I've been put in Hufflepuff every time. And I like Hufflepuff. They're loyal and hardworking, and they value friendship, and they don't discriminate, and they don't leave anyone out, and they're so connected with nature and with animals. So I'm proud. I'm proud to be a Hufflepuff. So this is going to turn into some Helga Hufflepuff gear that I will proudly wear. And again, this is Bumblebee Acres Farm. They have an Instagram. They have, well, look at that. They have like everything. So go check them out. They are actually from my neck of the woods where I grew up, from Harvard, Illinois. I grew up in Marengo, Illinois. Small little town outside of Chicago, quite a bit of a ways. And I went to grade school with one of the daughters from Bumblebee Acres. And she, I think, is one of the dyers and designers. She does a lot of work with the actual, like, company. So that was really cool. I thought she looked familiar and she thought I looked familiar, and we kind of made that connection, and like, what are the odds? So that was really cool. But they're doing clubs, an Outlander club, a Game of Thrones club, and a Harry Potter club. And signups are going on right now, and I am doing my best to resist signing up for them. I want to so badly, but I am on a yarn diet now. We'll see how long that lasts. I don't know. But I can't add any more yarn to my stash until I get some of it knit up, so I'll try my best to do that. My last thing that I'm going to show you from kind of acquisitions or beautiful things that I have come across is from Lisa at Three Sisters Farm and Fiber. And this is a gorgeous sock blank, and I'll just kind of show you all the colors in it. This is one that she hand dyed recently, and she showed it to me, and I took one home. I was like, yeah, I'm buying one of these. I just love I love the colors. I mean, there's like that deep maroon and that gold. Sorry if I'm a little sniffly. Browns, blacks, and grays, and tan, and then it goes into, I don't know, it's kind of a mix of, there's a little blue, there's a little green, there's a little maroon. I love it. And the white spots, I love the white spots. It's going to knit up really cool. So this is a sock blank, obviously, but just in case someone was wondering and have not seen these before, this is a sock blank. And I'm not sure what I'm going to knit with this, but I'm not sure it'll be socks. I think I'll do a different project with it. And I don't mind, like, the socks wouldn't match on this one because it's not, you know, it doesn't go from one color set and then gradient back to that same color set. So the socks wouldn't match, but I don't mind that. I would have non-matching socks. I just think I want to knit this into like a shawl or something. I'm kind of obsessed with shawls. I love knitting them. So anyway, that was her hand dyed. I think there might be a couple in the shop still on her online shop. So if you love it, go to threesistersmn.com. I think that's her website. I'm so sorry if it's not. Okay, this is getting a little lengthy, my first attempt at podcasting, so I'm just going to show you a couple of my patterns really quick. I recently have put out a couple on my Ravelry page. Two of them are purchase patterns, and one of them is a free pattern. So I'll show you the free pattern first. It's a little shawlette that I kind of designed on a whim, and I posted a picture on my Instagram, and then people were asking for the pattern. So it is kind of teeny. So don't be alarmed if you knit this and it turns out kind of small. So I don't know if you can, yeah. This is knit in Noro Silk Garden sock. It's a silk and wool blend. And I just did it's like a top down to the point shawl. I started with a garter tab and increased out, and it just has a little broken rib motif in there, and it increases as you go. So this is like one repeat, and this is like 1.5, and then, sorry if you can't see this, I hope you can, and then 2 repeats, and then at the bottom it's 2.5, I'm pretty sure, and then just a garter stitch border at the tip at the bottom. So that was fun. It just takes one ball of yarn, and that one is called River Swell, and it's on my Ravelry account. My Ravelry name is Driftless Knitter. So my second pattern, and this one is a purchasable pattern, this is called Strata. It's a cowl, and it's knit in a worsted weight. It's a knit on the bias and then connected over here. I did not do a provisional or anything because it is knit on the bias, and that would be almost impossible, I think. So I just seamed it together, and it's knit in a worsted weight, 2 colors, and this one is done in Malabrigo worsted, which is a single ply, I do have another one that is posted on the Ravelry page, and that one's done in Moonshine, which is from Juniper Moon, which is also a single ply worsted, and I think it's a silk alpaca wool blend, which is also beautiful. So that one's called Strata. Also, go to my page. My final pattern that's out right now is Swirling Currents, and this is a little cowl. You can you can see the cables in there. So this was knit for and knit out of Lisa's specialty colorway that she dyed up for Yarnology. And we had a special summer colorway called Boathouses, or Boathouse. And we sold that from June until the beginning of September. And that one won't be dyed again, so it's kind of a specialty colorway. But I designed this pattern to go with it, and it's called Swirling Currents. And I named it that because these little kind of swirled cables remind me of what happens in the river when two currents meet. They kind of meet each other and then go off and sort of swirl around each other. Like a magnet almost, like two opposing magnets sort of bulk. When they meet, these kind of do the same thing and they swirl around. And that's why you see these little like whirlpools sometimes in moving bodies of water. And we live, if you didn't know, I live right on the Mississippi River. So I used to live in Winona, Minnesota, which is where I work still. I went to school there. And now I live in La Crescent, Minnesota, which is just down the river. And every morning I drive along the Mississippi to get to work. And I watch eagles fishing, and I marvel at the beauty of this area, and the bluffs and the trees and the river, and I love it. And that's why my username and my podcasting name now is the Driftless Knitter, because this is the Driftless area. And I can get into the history of the Driftless area some other time, but it's special. There isn't another place like this in the country, and it rivals some of the most beautiful sites around, the most beautiful landscapes. People come from all over to do outdoor activities here, to hike, to bike, to swim, to paddle, and I get to live here every day, so I love it. So it inspires me. All of these pattern names are kind of inspired by the Driftless area. So the Swirling Currents by the river. Sorry, I want that light to catch those cables. And Strata is layers of rock that build up in the bluffs and the rocks around here, and that's what those different layers reminded me of. So that's why that's called Strata. And then the river swell, I was designing and knitting this when the river, we were getting so much rain, and we are still getting so much rain. And the river has just been so high this summer, and everyone talks about it. You know, the river kind of dictates a lot around here, and so everyone's talking about, you know, how high the water levels are, and it was just kind of a topic of conversation all around me and in my head, and so that's why that was called that. So anyway, but I better cut this short. I guess not short, it's kind of a long episode, but I so enjoyed talking with you and showing you some of my favorite things, my works in progress and my finished objects, and my patterns. And I hope that I can do this again. This has been really fun. And find me on Instagram at Driftless Knitter, on Ravelry at Driftless Knitter, and I don't have a Facebook page, but I do have an email, so you can, I think it's on my, it's linked on my Ravelry or my Instagram. And then my blog website is www.thedriftlessknitter.wordpress.com. So you can get a little more background on me and read some of my stories over the past year or so. All right, well, thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thanks. Bye.